We all have this picture in our heads of what wealth looks like, right? The fast cars, the designer clothes, those crazy lavish vacations. But what if I told you the people with real money, the truly wealthy, don't play that game at all? So yeah, what does real wealth actually look like? If it's not all that flashy stuff we're constantly bombarded with on social media, then what are the signs? What should we be looking for?
Well, I'll tell you this much. It's probably not what you're thinking. And get this, you could be sitting next to a millionaire in a coffee shop right now and have zero clue. Why? Because the signs aren't loud, they're subtle. But once you know what they are, you start seeing them everywhere.
Okay, so this is where we really get to the heart of the matter. It's all about learning to spot the massive difference between the wealth people show off and the wealth that's quietly being built behind the scenes. And this right here lays it out perfectly. On one side, you've got the visible consumption. The luxury cars, the designer brands, the fancy holidays. This is what most people think wealth is. But then look at the other side. That's the invisible wealth. We're talking about assets, index funds, businesses, and the big one, financial freedom. You see the difference? One is all about looking rich. The other is about actually being wealthy.
So the big question is, how do people even build that invisible wealth? Well, it all starts with what we call the inner game. It's all about the mindsets, the emotional habits, the stuff that quietly builds fortunes when no one's watching. Okay, sign number one is just fascinating. They are weirdly calm when money comes up. Think about it. Most of us get kind of awkward or defensive, or we immediately start comparing ourselves the second someone drops a salary or a price tag. But the secretly wealthy? Nah. They can talk about money like they're talking about the weather. There's no weird energy, no need to flex. It's just treated as information.
And that calmness, it's literally a superpower. And this is so important. It's not about personality. It's a position of security. When you're not getting emotionally triggered by money, you can negotiate so much better. You can plan for the long term without spiraling into anxiety. And you can make rational, not emotional investment decisions. It's huge. So you're probably asking, okay, how can I actually practice this? Well, here are a few things. First, try using neutral language. So instead of saying, "Ugh, that's so expensive," just state the number. Second, do regular money check-ins with yourself. Seriously, familiarity kills anxiety. And third, make it a point to talk about money on purpose, but in low-stakes situations. It helps desensitize you to the whole topic. All right, moving on to sign number two. The secretly wealthy, they are absolute masters of the pause. They are noticeably unhurried with their financial decisions. And let's be clear, this isn't about being lazy or indecisive. Nope. It's a deliberate strategy to avoid bad decisions. They're not the ones panic buying during a market frenzy, and they don't jump on an investment just because of FOMO. They are completely 100% comfortable saying, "You know what? I'll think about that." And you can totally build this superpower of patience for yourself. Here's how. 1. Implement a mandatory pause rule. Maybe 24 hours for small decisions, a week for medium ones, and a whole month for the big, life-altering stuff. 2. Always ask yourself this simple question. What happens if I do nothing? It's amazing how many bad ideas that one question just filters out. And finally, build some financial slack. An emergency fund isn't just money, it's time. And time removes that pressure that forces us into making dumb mistakes. Sign number 3 is a huge mindset shift. They prioritize their time and energy over their money. See, they've realized that once money isn't the main bottleneck in your life anymore, your most valuable resources become your time and your focus. So their first question isn't, how much does this cost? It's, is this actually worth my energy? And this is the crucial difference, right? Someone with a scarcity mindset is all about protecting cash. They're the person who'll drive all the way across town just to save a few bucks, but it costs them an hour of their life. On the other hand, someone with an abundance mindset, they protect their attention and their time. They know that wealth compounds fastest when they're focused on high-leverage activities, not on penny pinching. Okay, so we've talked about the inner game, the mindset stuff. Now let's switch gears and look at the outer game, how that mindset actually translates into real-world actions that build wealth. All right, sign number 4 might be the most counterintuitive one of all. They spend money on the most boring stuff imaginable. I'm serious. We're talking about great accountants, solid insurance policies, high-quality tools that save them time, or even low-cost index funds. Just those baskets of stocks that track the market. None of it is flashy. It is absolutely not Instagrammable. but man, is it effective. Just look at this comparison. Flashy spending, it depreciates fast, and it creates this constant social pressure to keep up. But boring spending, it does the exact opposite. It protects you. It compounds quietly in the background. It builds this financial anti-fragility, making you stronger when things go wrong. I mean, nobody's ever posted a selfie with the caption, "Just hired a great accountant, feeling blessed," right? But that accountant might be the very reason they get to retire a decade early.
Okay, this next one is a biggie. Sign number 5. At some point, their income went up, but their lifestyle didn't automatically follow it step for step. They didn't immediately turn every single raise into a brand new monthly payment. And this isn't about being a total cheapskate, it's about intentional restraint.
Let me use a quick metaphor here to make this crystal clear. Just imagine your income is like water pressure, and your lifestyle, all your monthly expenses, that's the pipe that the water flows through. So let me ask you, what happens if you just make that pipe wider every single time the pressure goes up? Exactly. You never build up any reserves. The flow just gets bigger and bigger, but nothing's being saved. And this right here brings us to one of the most fundamental, rock-solid truths of personal finance. That quiet, kind of boring gap between what you earn and what you spend, that is where wealth is built. It's not about the earning. It's about the keeping and the investing. And all of this leads us to the final and maybe the most important sign of all. They simply don't need you to know they're wealthy. You're not going to hear any humble brags, no accidental mentions of their portfolio. Why? Because their identity isn't built on their money, so they have no reason to use their money to signal who they are.
There's this quote from Morgan Housel that just nails it. He said, "Wealth is what you don't see. It's all that financial discipline that stays invisible to everyone else." See, true wealth isn't tied up in how things look. It's that quiet money working for them behind the scenes, buying them freedom, options, and peace of mind. So, when you step back and you look at all these signs together, you start to realize something. Personal finance, it's really a choice between two completely different games. And each game has its own rules and its own ultimate prize. So you have to ask yourself, which game are you playing? On one hand, you've got this status game. The goal there, impress other people with the stuff you can buy. It's a zero-sum game of constantly comparing yourself to others. But then there's the wealth game. Here, the goal isn't to impress anybody. It's to buy your own freedom. The tactic? Invisible compounding. And the prize? Is a life lived on your own terms. It's a totally different world. The cool thing is, all of these signs, they're really just habits and mindsets that you can start building today, right now. So that just leaves us with one final question. Now that you know what to look for, what's the first boring investment you're going to make in your own freedom?
Don't play with it, don't be dishonest.